Good morning and welcome to today's market color session. Today being the 10th of, or in the 8th of October 2024. Welcome and welcome everybody. Apologies for the delay in transmission, right? So good morning once again. I'd like us to share the link to this Zoom session this morning to as many as possible. Groups, community, Instagram story, Facebook post, communities you know that are interested in Forex and will find this content valuable. Do ensure that you send the link to them. You can use the link in the comment section and then send it to them. It will be posted in about 2 to 3 seconds, right? Quickly, today we'll be analyzing asset classes on the indices and also commodity. By indices, I mean US 30, US 100, and also S&P 500. And later on, my colleague will be coming up to analyze commodity asset classes. All right, a quick one. Let's just go straight into the chart this morning and see what we are having in terms of our market analysis, right? A trading view is still loading. Give me a sec for me to do that. Okay. I believe you can see my screen. I believe we can all see my screen this morning. Okay, yes, 30. All right, on the daily time frame on US 30, we can see that clearly we are bullish. However, what has happened over the past few days is that we've been ranging in a specific direction, right? Been ranging, you can all see clearly here. Without any explanation, we can see that we are in a box, kind of ranging all through this zone. However, we had opportunity to also, take advantage of the market. I think we had a setup on Tuesday, on Thursday, last week, Thursday, and then the price didn't pick us, but then that's fine. We're going to even still look at that. But then on the daily time frame, what are we looking at? We are ranging, market is ranging. And what has it failed to do? Price has failed to take out this previous all-time high, ATH, and then we are still in the range. If we see a breakout below here, what will I expect market to do? I want to sell off up until this level, right? And that will be like a retracement for me, meaning we are still overall bullish. However, I'm seeing a retracement to these down points, and then let's see a fair value gap above here. Each between this fair value gap and this one of them we definitely hold, and then probably I prefer this, right, because that's some other block and other confluences attached to it. So I want to see something like price drop into this down parts to this area of interest, and then we continue to the upside again, clearing this previous all-time high, right, or this recent all-time high. So that's what I'm looking at on a daily time frame. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame where we can see stuff clearly. Also, the 4-hour time frame, we're seeing that price has something like our analysis, our framework. One of the framework we used to use to trade what's it called now, US 30, NAS 100, and S&P 500, and see that price swept through this place clearly, and then what happened? We saw it created a lot of inducement liquidity above here, above here, above here, ultimately breaking this with a week, like breaking this market structure with a week. And what happened next? Price ultimately came and cleared this diagonal liquidity that has been created, and then we saw a pull to the downside, right? That's an example of what happened, right? That's an example of one of the examples of what happened. However, we can also look at this. Last week we had this markup, the chart, and then this was our perfect setup last week. Wanted price to just tap into this zone, and then we see price pushing to the upside. However, I think we missed that entry by say up to, I'm not sure if it's up to 10 pips thereabout. And then we missed the entry for the zone. And then look at what happened. Look at what happened. That could have been a very perfect. I mean, 1:10 self. I mean, I exaggerate. I think 1:2, probably a good 1:2, just below here. Okay, 1:6. Let's say 1:6.5. That's a perfect trade, right? 1:6.5 is still a good trade. So we missed that, and then this morning price tapped into that zone again, right? Price tapped into that zone, and then it's pushing to the upside. Honestly speaking, I'm not currently in this trade. I saw it this morning. I think when I was checking my chart by 6 this morning, I saw that I tapped into the zone, but then I didn't even bother to even take the trade because of what has happened. That has broken this, even with a week. It's a weak break of structure, but then it's still a break of structure, right? And then look at what is happening. Price failed to break this, right? And then it has broken this one. Price failed to break this high, right? And then we see that we've seen like a mini break of structure on this recent low. So what am I expecting would happen? I'm anticipating that we can see a tap off from this zone, and then a price is going to trade into this zone, and then we see a fall off to the downside, right? Remember what you saw on daily time frame, that we have been in a range for quite some time now. So I'm looking at a possibility of price tapping into the zone, something like this, push up, and then, right? So this is what I'm looking at on US 30 that could possibly happen. So if that should happen, then we know that we are in for a long ride, right? We are in for a long ride. And look at this, guys. On 1 hour time frame, what do we see? A box strategy. A box strategy, right? How do you want to explain the box strategy for those that understand it already? This is it, yeah. We had a what? We had a sweep of this zone. Price swept through this zone, and then a violent drop to the downside, breaking this previous structure. And then what did you have around this zone? We have what? Fair value gap, which is what? Obvious. So you expect price to push and start selling from above. Yeah, just in this zone, and then you see that tank to the downside. Ultimately, our first TP will be here, and then our other TP will be at this zone, the fair value gap that we marked on the daily time frame. So that is what we can see, right? That's one possibility that can happen. That's a possibility in the market. Also, we want to check the weekly time frame. I just remembered something on the weekly time frame that I mentioned last week. That's a possibility. The second possibility is this, guys. Let me show us. For those that were available last week, I marked out this zone. Look at this weekly fair value gap. Sorry, let me draw. Okay, perfect. Look at this weekly fair value gap, right? 1, 2, 3. I said last week that we might most likely see price just tap into this fair value gap and start pushing to the upside. The market can be crazy sometimes. Why am I saying this? This is weekly time frame, right? Look at how we've been bullish quite a while. So this can be a trap. The wholesale setup can also be a trap because of this 3 candle. Price has cleared this, the low of the previous candle, and then we can just see price tap into this fair value gap that has not been tested before, and then we start seeing that push to the upside. Ultimately, we see like a week. Is it like an hammer candle? Yes, stuff like that. So we see it push to the upside, clearing this previous all-time high. So that is why I'm also considering the buy setup, right? In as much as I'm looking at the sell bias on the H1 time frame, which is kind of short term. This weekly is more long term for me personally because of what I'm seeing on the chart, right? So it's a matter of just waiting patiently today till say New York market open, and then I'll see how price reacts to those zones. I mean the H1 zone, right? This zone here, right? If I see here violated, then I'm going to enter for a buy to the upside, right? If we have a box pattern, box strategy failure here around this zone, then we should anticipate the buy to the upside, because definitely this will be what is beginning to play out, right? So that is one thing we should put in mind, have at the back of our mind. Meaning, if this setup is going to hold on the weekly time frame, this buy to the long, and I believe me, this is going to be a very wide buy to the upside. So, if for any reason we are seeing the market is going to push to the upside, then we expect our 1 hour sell box pattern to fail, right? This zone, we expect it to fail. We have a sweep already, a break to the downside, a fair value gap that gives us that confirmation. If for any reason we see a sell to the downside, know that our weekly time frame analysis for a buy won't be valid. However, if we see the reverse happens, we can quickly jump in once we see it and then keep riding to the upside, right? I believe that is clear on US 30. Let's move to NAS 100. NAS 100, we can also see that they've been ranging for quite a while now, quite some time, and been expecting this zone to be filled, because all of this reaction was based off this fair value gap here. All of this reaction is based off this fair value gap. So I've been expecting us to see a rally above here. Once you see a rally above this 20,347.8 level, then you should expect that we are ultimately going to clear our all-time high, right? That is what we're expecting. So on the daily time frame, I still consider it bullish. I still consider it bullish because I've not seen a proper break of structure, right? A proper break of structure to the downside and even to the upside in respect to how price has been moving before now. However, currently what we have on the chart is that we are bullish, higher highs and higher lows, right? I want to see this guy cleared, this one cleared here, and then ultimately this above here to be cleared, right? Let's go on 4 hours and see what we're having. On 4 hours, not really clear yet. It's not really clear in terms of what market is doing this morning. We had this markup for US 30, but then it didn't. Okay, I think it held, but then we said price have tested it before. This little fair value gap here. This hidden fair value gap works so well. We can see how it was valid on US 30. Like we mentioned, it has been tested before, and look at how it moved also. Tapped into it and then see that rally to the upside. So that's been tested before, so it's no longer valid. But what we do now is to just sit on our hands on US 100, that's Nasdaq, and then while we watch what US 30 is going to do. For US 100, there's nothing really special that we're seeing for now on the chart, except for those that want to trade box strategy and then sell off US 100 from this zone. However, it's still not clear. It's still not clear as pertaining to what price is doing. We've seen like a range. It's still like in a range. Look at this zone here and just beneath here. So the market has not done anything much, right? Since on Tuesday, not seen anything significant. We are still in this range. So we want to see like a breakout of this range before we now take action in the market, right? So that is what I am watching out carefully for today. Personally, what am I looking at for today is on US 30. I'm watching out for my sell on 1 hour, while also having it in mind that anything can happen. If my sell on 1 hour gets invalidated, I know that the setup we had previously on weekly time frame is valid, and then we can run with it. All right, guys, this is a good time to ask a question. Do we have any question, any inquiry about this setup that we've just done now, about this analysis we've just made now, put on US 30 and NASDAQ? Do we have any questions whatsoever, so we can look into it quickly, and then my colleague is going to come up for our own analysis on commodity asset class. Do we have any question? Do we have any question? Do you have any question? You can type it in the chat box. Do you have any question? Awesome, awesome. It seems we have no question. So in about, say, 5 to 10 seconds or up to a minute, my colleague will be coming up for our own analysis on on commodity asset class. All right, guys. Cheers and God bless.
All right, good morning and welcome to the second part of today's analysis. Please let me know if you can hear me and can also see my screen. I see we have about 10 people online. Alamin, Daniel, Harris, Cole, Joseph, Mr. Moyo, Sheun and Noah. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Let me know if you can hear me, please. Perfect. All right. So just like my colleague Demola had mentioned earlier, I'll be doing an analysis on commodity currency pairs, which include AUD USD, NZD USD, and USD CAD. So as usual, I like to start off from one of my favorite pairs, the AUD USD, and of course the H4 time frame. All right. So what do we see on this particular time frame now? For a long time, we had all of this happening, right? And as at our last analysis, we have marked out 2 points of interest that we saw AUD USD trading into. The first was somewhere around here inside the momentum, and then the second one was inside our pullback. That's on the H4 time frame, of course. My new station. That's on the H4 time frame, right? So price has violated this point of interest. It has also traded into this level. Is there a possibility that we're going to see AUD USD trade all the way down here? We're going to keep watching. So what we do is now to fine tune our analysis even down to lower time frames like the H1. Bear in mind that on the H4 we already saw like the sunshine here has been printed, so we expect reversals, right? Okay, so where do we expect AUD USD to trade into? Because now what we're seeing is it has formed a new trend, right? It has taken out several structure points. If you use structure to trade, it took out this level, right? So, but there's a possibility that you could find support around here and around here. But looking at the H1 time frame, structure has started changing to the downside. So, are we going to see price just retrace into this level and drop? As you can see on the chart, I marked out even more specific levels on time frames like the M5 to have a clearer idea of what AUD USD is doing in this particular session. Okay, so let's just wait a second for the M5 time frame to load up, and then we're going to see the levels that we already marked out. Okay, so for those of us who have been joining for a while, you know that we always mark out the same exact levels. So not a beat yesterday's low, yesterday's high, day before yesterday's low, and day before yesterday's high. So price already did this. It tapped into yesterday's low, dropped, right? We saw some sort of reaction. But for me, I believe AUD will most likely trade all the way into this trend before it continues either selling in sync with the H1 time frame, which should then eventually start forming new structures that will reflect on the H4, or to just break above and continue the buy move, thereby finding support at one of our key levels, which we have marked out on each one. However, for me this session, I am more bearish on AUD/USD than anything. I am expecting reversals, of course, into specific levels that I marked out on the 5 minutes. You can see them here as well. So it's either AUD/USD finds resistance around this level or around this level or here and drops. Okay, I'm going to be more audible. So it's either price trades into these levels, drop, into this level, drop, or into this level and drop. That's what I'm watching out for AUD/USD. But my overall bias is to the downside. I'm seeing a sell on AU with a temporary reversal, giving us maybe 30 pips each thereabouts for the buy to trade into our point of interest and then continue the overall move downward. Please let me know if at any point you cannot hear me so that I don't talk for long and realize you're not hearing me. Okay, so NZUSD H4, what do we see? Very similar to what we saw on AUD/USD, right? Price is doing all of this. See the move down. Look at this. Price just sold all the way down here, sunshine printed. So, of course, we're expecting reversals back into point of interest 1 inside our pullback and point of interest 2 inside our momentum. That's on the H4 time frame, of course. But you can now fine-tune this and go down to time frames like the H1 to get even more specific, higher time frame point of interest. So I'm going to quickly pull down this line here. This is my H1 point of interest 1 and the second point of interest right here. So I'm saying if NZUSD is going to continue selling just like what we see it doing, then it's going to reverse into these levels, retrace, find resistance, and then continue selling. And just like we did on the AUD/USD pair, we're doing on NZD as well, saying that price is going to trade into specific level points on the M5 time frame, and then either find resistance or breaks above, find support, and then just continue with the overall trend that we had as at last week. However, what is my bias? I am more bearish and more bearish on NZUSD and AUD/USD, expecting temporal reversals, temporal buys into certain level points. If you understand, please let me know. If I'm too fast for you as well, please let me know. So this is what we're seeing, right? I'm saying that NZUSD will most likely continue buying from here and trade all the way into this trend first before it continues selling. Into this trend before it continues selling. And if it's able to break above this trend, remember the higher time frame levels that were marked out, which is the horizontal line you're seeing here, 0.1, 0.2. So if price breaks above this level, it's going to find resistance here. If it does not find resistance around this point, it's going to find resistance around this level. On USD card now, what do we see on USD card? H4 time frame as usual. Right, so price has traded into the trend that we have right here. Sunshine has been printed, overall bullish. So what should we expect USD card to do temporarily? We're expecting something like this. Into what point? H1 time frame. On the H1 time frame now, you see certain levels have been marked, but these are all the 5-minute time frame levels marked out. So let's focus on the H1 point of interest. So the first point of interest that I see on USD card is here. You see I already marked it out, and then we can add another one around this point. So if USD card trades into this level on M5 time frame and it breaks below, keeps breaking below, the next level is going to find the resistance from is around this point, right? So quickly go to the M5 time frame as well to see what we have going on this particular asset class. So just give me a second. The indicators tend to make cost lagging sometimes. Okay, so yesterday's high, yesterday's low, day before yesterday's low, and day before yesterday's high. Now, USD card, are you going to find support at this level, or trade into this trend and then continue buying? Or are you going to trade all the way into the H1 point of interest we are watching, right? So we're going to keep seeing what the chart does. Remember that even when price trades into our point of interest, we don't just jump into these trades until we see specific fine-tuned entries on time frames like the M1. That's why we have our specific pattern. So we mark out levels. When price gets to those levels, you look out for even more detailed factors that you want to see on the time frame you choose to enter from. But for me, M1, and when I see that around my point of interest, I'm going to buy. But even at this point, that price is here now, I am not going to start thinking of buys until I check M1. And if there's no entry on M1, what am I going to do? I'm going to keep waiting for price to trade into these levels. When you systemize your analysis like this and you fine-tune them, you realize that you're going to be avoiding certain trades that could just kick you out for no reason, because there are times you could force yourself into the market and then get kicked out even though you were right on direction. So even when price gets to these levels, I still wait, right? So let's quickly check what we have on Forex Live. Let's see what we have going on Forex Live. See if we have any news release that could give us even clearer perspective on what we are seeing right here. Okay, you can see my screen, right? Can you see my screen? All right. So you see the headline, Iran warns Israel of stronger retaliation if attacked among rising tensions. So you could decide to click on this and read through it. Now, for those of us who have a slight idea of what fundamentals do, you know that this is going to have even more impact on commodity currency pairs, right? The first impact that news releases like this could have on commodity currency pairs is geopolitical risk, increased geopolitical risks, right? Especially in sensitive regions like the Middle East. So it kind of introduces uncertainty and risk into global markets. You know, commodity currencies are very sensitive to such risk because they are tied to global trades, commodities, and investor sentiment, right? So in the long run, what is it going to do? We're going to see heightened tensions, which often leads to like risk-off sentiment in global markets, where investors move away from riskier assets like AU, NU, and even the Canadian dollar, and they move into safer options like the yen and the Swiss francs, right? So as a result, we could even see AUD, USD, NZD, and even CAD, if not sufficiently supported by rising oil prices, see downtrend movement. So it makes sense now that our buyers on these pairs are kind of to the downside. To just add that extra confluence to this, I'm going to quickly check on Finviz and see what economic theme we have playing out. Because what we're seeing now, we've done technical analysis, we're seeing moves to the downside. We've checked Forex Live, we've seen news release that could even give it further momentum to the downside. So we now go back to check Finviz. On Finviz, what do we have going on now? Loading up. We'll give it a second. So with all of this in play, if we see our economic theme giving us that the commodity currency pairs are being sold, then of course we know that we're more to the downside. Of course, we have CPI coming out this week as well. So we can also wait till CPI comes out and see what it does in the market. Okay, so it's still loading up. We're just going to wait for it to be done loading up. So we are sure we're seeing recent data. Okay, so you see Canadian dollar, NZD, AUD, they are all being dumped, and then safe haven currencies like the yen and the Swiss franc are being bought right now. See where the dollar is. Over time, it's going to come back here. So with this in mind, and what we've seen as the headline news and our technical analysis pointing to the downside, I am more bearish on these pairs. So I'm going to be waiting for price to get into my point of interest and then continue selling. We don't really have any data release coming out today, so we shouldn't see much volume in the market. We're going to be watching, of course, to see. Check Forex Factory. I think tomorrow we have one coming out on NZD. There's a news release coming out on NZD. Is it the cash rate? Let's check that and see. So tomorrow is Wednesday, right? Okay, so we have official cash rate and RBNZ rate statements coming out tomorrow. And then we also have one on FOMC meeting minutes by 7 p.m. and then CPI on Thursday by 1:30 p.m. So for now, there's not much volume in the market, but with these news releases that we have coming up, we should see relevant or substantial movement in the market tomorrow and next. So yes, this is my bias on this particular pairs. You can add this information and extra confluence to your own analysis if you don't trade the way I do, especially if you're not an FS Bootcamp student. And of course, you know, add your own confluence and take advantage of what I see as well. And if you're somebody who is just coming into the space of trading and you want to learn how to trade, by all means, send us a DM. Our WhatsApp number will be dropped in the chat box. Send us a message and let's get you started. We covered 3 different curriculums in that course. As you can see, the way Demola analyzes is different from how I analyze, different from how CG analyzes as well. So you're going to be taught these different strategies, and then you now get to decide the one that you want to stick with. We also cover teachings and trainings on sentiments, value flow models. I know you've heard our CEO, Ejimi Profitable Investor, mention them as well. So that's if you already have a lockdown on technical analysis, having an idea of value flow models and sentiments will be that extra confluence in your trading that helps you see the bigger picture, helps you see the flow of the river, helps you know which particular asset class to trade at particular points in time. So send us a message. The number will be dropped in the comment section. Yeah, so if you have any questions at this point, let me know. We'll quickly attend to them before we call it a day. Mr. Sheon, I greet you, sir. Good morning. Okay. So I hope this has been helpful to somebody at least. Let me know if it was helpful to you by leaving an emoji. It could just be a thumb up. It could just be any emoji, your favorite emoji. Leave it for me in the chat box before we call it a wrap on today's market color session. All right. Okay, thank you so much for joining. We're going to reconvene at 3 p.m., 3:30 p.m., 3 p.m. We're going to reconvene at 3 p.m. for New York market color session. Please share the link with more people so they get to join as well. With that being said, cheers and God bless. Have an amazing trading day.